Hello. Now let us move ahead of our chapter, A Truly Beautiful Mind. Okay, now finally, Albert Einstein, he got the chance to move to Zurich further. He also felt a special interest in a fellow student, Mileva Merrick, whom he found to be a clever creature. This young Serb had come to Switzerland because the university in Zurich was one of the few in Europe where women could get degrees. Einstein saw in her an ally against the Philistines, those people in his family and at the university with whom he was constantly at odds. The couple fell in love. Letters survive in which they put their affection into words, mixing science with tenderness. Wrote Einstein, "How happy and proud I shall be when we both have brought our work on relativity to a victorious conclusion." Now, here his life when he was in Zurich, Zurich University, it's described over here. When he went over there to study, he started developing his interest in a fellow student. Okay, her name was Mileva Merrick. So he started developing his interest in her because he found her to be a clever creature. So Einstein, he himself was very clever, not only clever, he was very brilliant student. So he found a cleverness in her. So he got attracted towards her. So this young Serb had come to Switzerland because the university in Zurich was one of the few in Europe where women could get degrees. So Mileva, she belonged to Serbia, okay, and she had come to Switzerland. She had come to Zurich to pursue her education because the university in Zurich was the only university, or one of those very few universities in Zurich where women were allowed to study further to take higher degrees. So she went over there. So Einstein saw in her an ally. An ally means a friend or an associate. So whenever he used to speak with her, he used to associate with her very easily because he found in her a close friend. So she was not like other Philistines. Philistines means those people in his family and at the university who were constantly against speaking against him, against his views. Okay, so he hated them. His family always opposed him, his neighbors always opposed him, his headmasters, his teachers, his friends, they always found something odd in him. But Ali was a person who he connected very easily, and something he got positive vibes from her. So both of them, they fell in love. They started writing letters to each other, and most of the time the stuff in the letter was mixed with tenderness, love and science. So once Einstein had written to Mileva, "How happy and proud I shall be when we both have brought our work on relativity to a victorious conclusion." So let us get connected and let us bring certain conclusion to our love life. So this was the this tender part of Einstein's life. Further, in 1900, at the age of 21, Albert Einstein was a university graduate and unemployed. He worked finally he worked as a teaching assistant, gave private lessons, and finally secured a job in 1902 as a technical expert in the patent office in Bern. While he was supposed to be assessing other people's inventions, Einstein was actually developing his own ideas in secret. He is said to have jokingly called his desk drawer at work the Bureau of Theoretical Physics. Okay, so in 1900, finally, Einstein became graduate at the age of 21. But along with that, he was also unemployed. He didn't get any job at that time, very easily at that time. So he worked as a teaching assistant, means as an assistant teacher, he worked over there. He also gave private lessons, and finally he secured a job, and finally he got a job in the year 1902, means exactly after 2 years of his graduation. He got a job as a technical expert in the patent office in Bern. Now, what is this patent word? Patent. It means a document which gives the rights of an invention to an inventor. So, in this office, so he used to work as a technical expert. Whenever a person visited in this office to have the patent, so what that person has to do to visit this office, a person has to invent something unique which has not been invented earlier, which is the new invention, and the world is going to get benefit from that invention. So that invention has to be taken to this patent office. What was Einstein's job? Einstein used to observe, assess that invention, whether it was really useful or not, and then he used to give this certificate, patent certificate, to that person. And that patent certificate means that person has the copyright of that thing. Nobody else in the world except him can invent that same invention, and cannot call that invention his own, because someone else is already owning that thing. So if someone does, or trying to do the thing, trying to copy the invention which is someone has already invented, then that person may get arrested by the police, or he has to pay certain charges. So this is patent. It's very important. Okay, so Einstein was assessing others inventions, people which have invented something. He used to assess them, but secretly he was inventing his own things, his own secret ideas. Okay, and he didn't reveal to anyone at that time. So he is said to have jokingly called his desk drawer at work the Bureau of Theoretical Physics. Very jokingly, once he said the desk drawer in his office, in which he had kept so many secret documents of his inventions, he used to call that desk drawer a Bureau of Theoretical Physics. So all his inventions were related to physics. So everything was in a written form. So he used to call it as a Bureau of Theoretical Physics. One of the famous papers in 1905 was Einstein's special theory of relativity, according to which time and distance are not absolute. Indeed, two perfectly accurate clocks will not continue to show the same time if they come together again after a journey, if one of them has been moving very fast relative to the other. From this followed the world's most famous formula, which describes the relationship between mass and energy. E is equal to mc square. In this mathematical equation, E stands for energy, M for mass, and C for the speed of the light in a vacuum about 3 lakh kilometers per second. So this is what Einstein did. He has moved the world. He has shaken the world with his this formula. Okay, what is this formula about? So one of the papers which Einstein published about himself, his inventions, was about his special theory of relativity, which was published in 1905. According to this theory of relativity, time and distance, they are not absolute. Time and distance, they cannot be calculated same. Okay, indeed, two perfectly accurate clocks will not will not continue to show the same time if they come together after a long journey, if one of them has been moving very fast relative to the other. If two clocks which are set same time, okay, and if they move to journey but in different direction, okay, and when they will come back to the same position after traveling the whole journey, it is not we cannot say that both the clocks will show the same time. So one can also show the different timing and the other can show the different timing, because it is not decided at what space the clock will run. Okay, so if one clock is moving very fast and the other relatively to the other clock, then this clock may show different time after returning from the journey, and this clock may show different time after returning from journey. So from this we come to know that the time and the distance traveled by both the clocks are not absolute. Both are not absolute. So from here comes the world's most famous formula given by Mr. Albert Einstein, was E is equal to mc square. E stands for energy, m for mass, and c for the speed of the light. So you must be familiar with this formula. You must have learned this formula in your science subject. Okay, now based on this, once Einstein had jokingly said the thing. What is that? When you sit with a nice girl for 2 hours, it seems like only 2 minutes. And when you sit on a hot stove for 2 months, it seems like 2 hours. When you sit on a hot stove for 2 minutes, it seems like 2 hours. It's relativity, Albert Einstein. And it generally happens so. You people also feel the same thing when you're sitting in the SST class, you're learning geography or history. You think just for 2 minutes the class has started. You people think, oh, it seems 2 hours we are learning this horrible subject. And when you people are on the ground and you're playing, you're enjoying your PT period for 2 hours. Okay, and your teacher calls that yes, the time is up now, please come back to your classes. You feel, ma'am, just 2 minutes, we have just started. It's the theory of relativity. While Einstein was solving the most difficult problems in physics, his private life was unraveling. Albert had wanted to marry Mileva right after finishing his studies, but his mother was against it. She thought Mileva, who was 3 years older than her son, was too old for him. She was also bothered by Mileva's intelligence. She is a book like you, his mother said. Einstein put the wedding off. But when Einstein was inventing so many brilliant things in the world, on the other hand, his private life was unraveling. Unraveling means starting to fall. His private life started falling, because here at that age Einstein wanted to marry Mileva, but his mother was against it because she didn't like Mileva. First reason was she was older than Einstein. She was 3 years old than Einstein, and she was also equally intelligent, okay, like Einstein. So she thought, his mother thought that she was like book like Einstein, and both intelligent people cannot survive with each other. So for this reason, she didn't permit Einstein to marry Mileva. But the pair finally married in January 1903 and had 2 sons. But a few years later, the marriage faltered. Mileva, meanwhile, was losing her intellectual ambition and becoming an unhappy housewife. After years of constant fighting, the couple finally divorced in 1919. Einstein married his cousin Elsa the same year. But though his mother opposed to marry Mileva, he finally got married to Mileva in January 1903. And after that they had 2 sons. But their marriage life was also not filled with happiness. For 15 to 17 years they stayed together, but continuously they were fighting with each other. And Mileva, being so intellectual, she started losing her interest in her ambitions, and she started becoming unhappy housewife. So both of them they fought with each other constantly, and finally they got divorced in 1919. And in the same year, Einstein married his cousin Elsa, okay, and he led his further life with her. So this was his journey till here, and what happened at the end till his death, what further inventions he made, and how he made this world a peaceful place to live. How he tried to make this world a peaceful place to live. So we are going to deal with this in our next video. Please leave your comment in the comment section and let me know that you people are watching and understanding the chapters. Okay, thank you.